What are the implications of this, Dr. Subramanian?
Thank you very much, Vishnu, for having me here. Let me first start by reminding viewers that at the peak of the Adani episode, I had written this piece. Primarily, the thesis was that the Hindenburg report had actually called Adani the biggest scam ever. Now, when one makes a claim like that, it is reasonable to say that, you have ruled out all plausible explanations. If you have to say there is fraud happening, then every reasonable explanation, and when I say reasonable, it means actually one that does not involve fraud, has to be ruled out. What one saw when we look at the stock price, and having taught valuation for a living and having built on Ashwath Damodaran, who himself is actually one of the experts on valuation, what one saw was that the stock price of Adani increased post 2021, primarily from March 2021 onwards. And if you would recall, that was the time when the post-COVID budget was presented, and the Indian economy, changed tack to invest far more in infrastructure. And investors actually in stock markets interpreted Adani to be a beneficiary as an infrastructure enterprise. You add some, irrational exuberance, which typically does happen whenever there is any regime change that happens in the economy, and the change towards infrastructure investments in India was indeed such a regime change. Then you have one possible explanation. As I would like to make very clear, it's not the possible explanation, but one possible and reasonable explanation for the stock price, which basically then says that, the claim that it is the biggest fraud in history is not right. I actually feel very, very happy to be vindicated by the report that has been submitted to the Honorable Supreme Court, where the panel of experts clearly says that they cannot find any evidence to suggest that there was any fraud involved. In fact, I would also like to mention that a couple of weeks back, in the Mauritius Parliament, the president there also made a statement that there are no entities, that have been discovered doing something hanky-panky from Mauritius onwards. So I think that is the key perspective for us to remember. Going forward, and I've actually looked at some of the, measures that have been suggested, in terms of related party transaction disclosures, etc. And I have many more ideas to actually add to, what the expert committee has mentioned.
I just wanted to look through two key points over here, which the Supreme Court panel has actually focused on. They've said there is no law which has been violated in the rise of Adani share prices. Isn't this critical to the entire issue?
That is extremely critical. So they go into, two key aspects. One is the public holding. Second, they actually look at, disclosure of related party transactions, in fact, and a third part, which is the stock price manipulation. And by looking at the, evidence, actually the panel included several experts, and they've gathered good evidence. What they find is in none of the three do they find any convincing evidence of fraud or manipulation, and that is critical. What they do also provide evidence for is the fact that post the this episode, a retail investor interest in the Adani stock has increased. They also find that at the new level, the Adani stock price is quite stable, which actually I interpret as some of the irrational exuberance that was there, in the stock price before this report was published. I think that irrational exuberance has been taken out from the stock price, and what we've now got is basically just a reflection of the fundamentals derived from the regime change towards infrastructure and the value that especially revenue growth that the Adani group of companies can get. So I think that is extremely critical when we look at the fact that having looked at SEBI's data that SEBI has shared and all the other evidence, the expert panel has come up with the conclusion that there's nothing hanky-panky.